count it up, count it up, count it up, count it, count it up, count it up, count it up, count it, count it up, count it up, count it up, count it.
What's going on, guys? It's the Buckshow here today. Thank you for watching the third episode of the Buckshow here. I'm Bucky Abraham, and today we got a guest. His name's Oscar Elieff. Thank you for being on, buddy.
Thanks for having me on.
So, give us, tell us what you're about and what you're doing, and kind of.
So I'm about to start off at Brock University for sport management. I write for lastwordonhockey.com. I report on the Toronto Maple Leafs there. I also host a podcast with my co-host Christian Holmes, who you can also find his work on Last Word on Hockey. And we host the Belief in the Magic podcast together. So
okay, I see.
Yeah,
I see. I might have to give it a sneak peek sometime. I might have to, listen to that podcast sometime.
Oh yeah.
So I wanted to ask you a couple questions. So obviously, we're gonna get right into it. I wanted to talk about how far do you think the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to go next season, playoff-wise, because we know that they're going to do good, and I think that they're going to do really good in the regular season.
Yeah, just what you're saying about the regular season before I get into that, I wouldn't be surprised if they struggled right away because there's been so many lineup changes.
Oh, of course.
But, yeah, like you said, there's no reason to expect anything less than possibly second in the Atlantic from them, fighting with Tampa Bay for that top spot.
Yeah.
So that would put them potentially against Boston again.
Yeah. See how that goes. Boston's the last couple of series. Boston, it looks like Boston's always in their head, and they haven't had good luck against Boston.
There's that mental factor in it, but you can't really calculate that into all the numbers and stuff. But there is that mental factor.
But it's not as bad as the Toronto Raptors against LeBron James. So just remember that. but yeah, no.
I think that if they don't win around this year, it's definitely a disappointment. At this point in the rebuild, you're expecting them to at very least get to the second round.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if we see them against Tampa Bay in round 3 this year. Just because both teams have such dynamic offense.
Oh, of course. The defense for the Leafs, I think, is a struggle, but you look at the two veterans in Stamkos and Kucherov. I think that those together form a pretty nasty tandem.
Yeah, and the Leafs defense, it's definitely a struggle there. It's more so on the right side. The left
that's
side,
what I was saying. It's always on the right side, and
because the left side they have Morgan Riley, Jake Gardiner, who has caught a lot of flack because of his series against Boston.
Yeah,
but he's a fantastic player.
Yeah,
puts up 50 points as a defenseman. He is a staple of that lineup and shouldn't be going anywhere next season, as in a trade. And then the third pairing, as of right now, is projected to be Travis Dermott, who was just called up last year to play in his rookie year. Halfway through the season, he was fantastic in that short amount of time. So don't be surprised if you see him in the lineup full-time next year. Now, the right side, that's a bit of a different story. Nikita Zaitsev had a real struggle.
Yeah.
And that's sort of where Boston exploited them last year.
Yeah.
So I could definitely see with such a dynamic offense with Tampa, they could exploit Ron Hainsey, Nikita Zaitsev, and whoever ends up being their third pairing guy.
Yeah. Well, I think that for the Leafs, for me, personally, I think that I agree, second round. I don't think that they will get put out in the first round this year. I think that they've gotten better offensively, even though they were really good last year. I think that bringing a franchise player like Johnny Tavares is definitely going to help them. And, he's, right now in his prime. So, and I think that the Leafs won the offseason by getting him, who was the best player in the market.
Yeah.
But I think that, for me, it's nothing less than a second round. I think second round is the minimum for them. I think that they can get to the conference finals. To me, I would say it's kind of a stretch. I don't know if they have that. I don't know if they're ready for the Stanley Cup Finals, because if you look, you see teams like Pittsburgh. They always finish low, but and when it's playoff time, they kick it into gear. Washington has finally gotten that burden off their head of winning 50 plus games in the regular season and then getting put out in the second round to Pittsburgh. I think that when you look at those two teams and then, having, Crosby and Ovechkin, I feel like that will be tough for the Leafs to kind of get over. That's just my opinion on it.
Yeah, and now that I'm thinking about it, I think the Leafs, based on the current format, would meet Tampa in the second round. I think, rather than third, unless for some reason if
they play Boston, they'll probably play Tampa in the second round.
Yeah, and unless something happened to injury wise and Tampa fell down to wild card or something, or third or something other than that. I believe it would be second round with this current format. So, I think if you're a Leafs fan, your expectation should be second round.
But if you look at it, though, I think they're in a really good situation because you have two young players. Obviously, you got Tavares, but, there's Mitch Marner, the setup guy, and then you got Austin Matthews, the goal scorer. And those two are in their second year, and you see what they've done in the past. First game for Matthews, scores 4 goals, and obviously in his rookie season, those guys were the X factor for them making the playoffs. Yeah, it's so exciting to see this team play because they're young, and they continue to get better and better.
Yeah, and just how fast and how much offense they have just makes it a fun team to watch.
Yeah,
and Frederik Andersen usually stands on his head for the team. He's been great. He has his times where he's sort of faltered and you sort of question him at points, but I think he's shown that when he's hot, he is almost Vezina candidate worthy for the best goalie of the year when he's on, and then when he can't, the rest of the team sort of picks up for it. I think the team is overall in a really good spot and should be a cup contender this year.
I do think so, but I think, in my opinion, I just think that they're in the middle. I want to say they're coming. Obviously, I have to see how they do in the regular season, but I feel like just from the past, just from what I've seen, Pittsburgh, they're a tough team to beat, and they have beaten some good teams, and they always do this. We don't expect them. They always pace themselves in the regular season. Then obviously they just take it to another level. Matt Murray, not this year, he kind of choked a little bit, and I think that if Malcolm was a little healthier, I think that they could have beat Washington. But man, Pittsburgh is just an unbelievable team, it's tough.
I get that, but what you have to look at, the Leafs finished 6th in the regular season last year.
Yeah.
That was without John Tavares. Now they've added him.
Yeah.
And their offense, now they can move guys up the lineup Kasperi Kapanen and Andreas Janssen.
Yeah.
And they can sort of fill some of the holes that, not quite what JVR has left, but they can put up points. And put up some goals if you give them that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
As well as I think just losing Polak itself. I'm a huge fan of Polak as a person, but he's not a great player.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the defense just gets a little bit better with him out of the lineup.
Yeah.
And that gives Connor Carrick the opportunity to step in.
Yeah.
Who I have always loved. I think he is a fantastic defenseman, never given the opportunity last year.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully you see a bit of a bounce back season by Nikita Zaitsev, who was not great last year.
Yeah.
And he had a really
off there.
he had a really rough year there. And Ron Hainsey was great to start, but he's 39 now and he's slowing down. You can't play him 20 plus minutes a night.
Yeah.
But if you get a bit of a bounce back year from Nikita Zaitsev, see a little bit more what you saw in his rookie season.
Yeah.
I think their defense will be adequate.
I hope so. I just feel like if their defense is even a little bit better, if their defense, oh my goodness, the notifications come at the wrong time. If their defense gets even a little bit better, I don't think it needs to be great, but if it's average, because I think they're definitely under average. If you can bring it to average, I feel like they can definitely be a really, really scary team. But I feel like you need defense to help, Freddie Anderson because I think he's a top 10 goalie in the league. Arguably, some people say top 5. I don't know. But
I wouldn't go that far.
I wouldn't go that far, but I think he's a top 10 goalie.
He's quite good, and everyone's saying that they think the Leafs need to make a trade, get a top 4 right-handed defenseman, and it's like, yeah, that'd be great. That's not quite what you need. You need a guy that's good at getting the puck out of his own zone with control.
Yeah.
He needs to be able to have the puck on his stick when he leaves the zone, or he needs to be able to pass it to someone else. Yeah. So if he does clear the zone, they're not just picking it right back up and taking it back in. Mm-hmm. And everyone's saying trade William Nylander for a top 4 defenseman. It's like, no, don't do that. No, please don't.
Even though we made a terrible play in Game 7, oh my God, I still can't get over that. It was like Pastrnak had, he was, this was like, I think it was, I don't know if it was tied. I think it was tied. And Pastrnak was, I think he was skating. He was on the I think he was on the right side. Nylander, I think he was like making a pass. I don't know what he did, but here's like, I don't know, here's like the net. He went around the net. And then Pastrnak gets the puck. I think he's on the right side. He's skating straight, and then he goes to the middle and gives Pastrnak a wide open shot. I was like, oh my God, what are you doing there? Like, I think Nylander's good, but I think personally I would get rid of him for a top 4 defenseman.
No, I think you haven't seen the best of Nylander, and
not yet. I agree.
He hasn't turned it up to that notch that everyone knows he can do.
Yeah.
He had 61 points in his rookie year, and then same thing last year. Yeah. Comparable to that in his rookie season, in his first 2 seasons, someone who had almost the exact same amount of points in his first 2 seasons was John Tavares. So, like, if you're looking at it like that, like, he's going to be fantastic. Mm-hmm. He is playing on a line with Austin Matthews. That obviously increases what he can do, and like if you give him a line mate to work with, which they have, he is going to have a phenomenal season next year, I believe. Especially if they put Patrick Marleau beside them, like Mike Babcock was suggesting. I think that could be a dangerous line, and you'll see Nylander turn it up to that next level.
Mm-hmm. So I wanted to ask you, I don't know what's going on with the captaincy, but if you were to choose, okay, you're Mike Babcock right now. Just imagine you're Mike Babcock.
All right.
Deep ass voice. Pardon my French there. Sorry. So you're Mike Babcock, choosing between Tavares and Matthews. Who are you choosing?
I'm between those two. I'm choosing Austin Matthews still.
Okay, good answer. That's who I would choose.
John Tavares has had the captaincy. I don't think he came to be the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Whereas Austin Matthews, like, he's
young. He needs it, right?
It's still Austin Matthews' team. He's been drafted by them. He's been with them for 2 years already. He's a staple in the city now.
Oh, I agree.
And that's if I had to choose between the two. I still think you go without a captain next year.
Yeah. Because then you can, like, so then, like, it's kind of like, okay, let's see how these two do.
Yeah.
And, who can play the role better. But yeah, I totally agree. I don't think they should give it to anyone this year. But if I were to choose, I think I would give it to Matthews, like you said. And the reason why is because he's younger. He's a frat. Like the Leafs drafted him, and he's been in the league 2 years, and he's made a big impact. Let's just remember that as well too. I think he's not a once in a lifetime generation player, but he's like a very, very, very rare player that you don't find. He's a former number one overall pick. So is Tavares. Yeah. But I would choose Matthews just because he's younger. And I think that you keep him because what if say if I'm Mike Babcock, I give it to Johnny Tavares. We don't know how Austin Matthews is gonna take that, right? He could be like, okay, like he could get mad, right, in the inside, because we don't know what, like, we always assume that athletes are the unselfish players and they want the best for their teammates. Some people aren't like that. Some people, like, they want the attention, they want the spotlight, they want to be recognized as the best player on the team. So we don't know, like, I maybe Tavares doesn't care because he's already had it, but we don't know the mindset of Matthews. He's a young player. Obviously, he has an ego, because he's he's done it all. Like he's an amazing player, but I don't know if you agree with that. But
Yeah, and if any of your listeners have a subscription to The Athletic, Jonas Siegel just sat down with Austin Matthews, and he actually talked about the captaincy.
wow, check it out, guys
And
ladies.
And he was saying, like, if the team were to offer him, he said, yeah, I would feel ready, but it's not his personal goal to be the captain. If you look at his history, he's never actually been a captain on any of his teams leading up to this. Whereas, like, if you were comparing it to John Tavares, he's been captain of every single team. John Tavares has been hyped up since he was 10 years old, 11 years old, whereas Matthews, he came out of Arizona. No one really knew. Tavares has always been in the spotlight. Matthews hasn't.
But one thing in how you said, like, okay, like he's not really focused. That's not his goal to be captain. Like obviously, I feel like athletes are not going to admit to that because they know it's going to cause conflict. But I feel like, maybe like behind the scenes, maybe just because like there's a lot of people, like there's a lot of like I've seen a lot of like I've watched a lot of sports and I've seen like athletes get robbed of like awards that they deserve, and they'll go on the media and they'll be like, oh, okay, well, I don't really care, I have bigger goals. Obviously you're gonna say that, right? But it's just like probably inside you probably feels like, okay, like I like, because I feel like a captaincy is like, okay, whose team is this?
Yeah, and I feel like it's a bit unpopular with some sports fans, but I feel like the captaincy is more for the fans than the team, because if you're going to be a leader in the locker room, that's not going to change if you don't have the C on your chest. Like, there's not just one leader in the locker room. Like, Austin Matthews has apparently, according to some teammates in interviews, really stepping up as a leader. Patrick Marleau has been a fantastic presence in the locker room. He doesn't have the C on his chest. That's not going to change even if he doesn't get it. John Tavares, even if he doesn't get the C, he's still going to be a huge presence in the locker room. It's not going to really change too much that way. Like, you're still going to have a presence, and you're still going to be a leader, even if you're not the captain per se. Is sort of my take on that.
I agree with what you just said there. So how good do you think the Leafs are going to do this regular season? Let's talk a little bit about the regular. What are your, or actually, you know what? Let's talk about what are your predictions for awards? Who's gonna win MVP? Who's gonna be a surprise team? Who's your Stanley Cup Finals predictions?
Yeah. So I think surprise team could be Carolina Hurricanes or Arizona Coyotes. Carolina has sort of been sitting in the middle territory for quite a while now. They just did a whole revamping under new ownership. They traded for Dougie Hamilton. That's obviously a fantastic piece to add to an already stacked defense. They lucked out with the draft lottery and got Andrei Svechnikov, who put up nearly a goal per game in the OHL. And if he, in my opinion, is the most NHL ready forward of the 2018 draft, just a step ahead of Philip Zadina. And I think he could be a serious front runner or a sleeper for the Calder Trophy. And as for sort of league MVP, I think you can never count out Connor McDavid. Like, puts up 100 points and then 107 or something like that.
Phenomenal player, man. Yeah. Phenomenal player.
So I think...
Who's winning the Rocky Richard?
You have to go with history. Yeah, Ovi's winning that.
Or maybe Laine.
Laine always has his hat in the ring lately.
He was close. He was close this year.
I think Ovechkin still won it by like a margin of 6 goals.
Yeah.
5 or 6 goals or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, Laine had a fantastic season. If anyone gives Ovechkin for a run for his money, my guess is it's him.
It's him, yeah. Matthews, maybe.
Yeah, if Matthews is healthy, he was on pace to be the second highest. He had the second highest goals per game behind Ovechkin this year. Mm-hmm. So if he was healthy, I think he was on pace to score 44 goals this year.
Wow.
So if he's healthy, that'd be fantastic. But I'm not expecting that from him. Mm-hmm. Selke, you always have to go with like the usual cast, like Patrice Bergeron. Well, Ryan Kessler is going to be out for most of the year, it seems. So that takes him out. Anze Kopitar, just sort of your usual selection of guys. So the Calder is always the most interesting to me because it has to be a different group each year. So I think you can see, like I said, Andrei Svechnikov, Elias Pettersson in Vancouver could be a choice. I believe Dylan Strome's retained his rookie eligibility, so that could be another one. But yeah.
Who do you think? What are your I assume that you're going to put the Leafs in this, but who's going to the Stanley Cup Finals this year?
The Leafs have a really good shot at it, I think.
Honest.
Yeah, it's down to the Leafs or Tampa in the East for me, and in the West, Winnipeg would be up there, and
Winnipeg
and Nashville would be in there for me.
Yep.
Those are my top 4 choices or top 2 from each conference. Nashville just won the President's Trophy, of course, last year, and then the year before they went to the finals. So
Nashville was a surprise team a couple of years ago, actually, going to the sweep in Chicago and giving the Pittsburgh Penguins a run for their money. I wouldn't be surprised. That's good.
And Winnipeg, they're such like a complete team.
They are, and they had injuries too.
I see no real flaws with that team. Like, their right side of defense is really good, which is a rarity in sort of the league today. They lost Paul Stastny in free agency, which hurts the team a little bit, but they can have Jack Roslovic potentially step up, and he was playing really well in the AHL last year. He could do quite well in that position, I think, as third line center behind Mark Scheifele and... Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank.
Scheifele's amazing.
Yeah.
Scheifele is ridiculous. He's something special.
Yeah, and fantastic forward group, really solid defense core, and Hellebuck was a Vezina nominee last year, so no real weaknesses.
Yeah, I think I think right now for me it's the Leafs, not the Leafs. Sorry, no. I'm sorry, Leafs fans. For me, I think it's going to be Tampa, and it's going to be Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Tampa and Winnipeg.
I could definitely see that as a finals series.
Or the Pens. I think that the Washington Capitals had a phenomenal run, but I don't think they're going to do it again. I just don't think that I think they're going to run into a problem, and I think that they'll get... I think it was just their year. I think this year was a magical run. I don't think it'll happen next year.
Yeah, I never really count them out, but they're definitely not at the top of my list to repeat or anything.
Yeah. But yeah. Thanks for doing the podcast with me, man.
No problem.
I appreciate it. Guys, just make sure to check out his podcast. What is it again? What's the...
Belief in the Magic podcast. I host it. I'm Oscar Elieff, and I host it with my co-host, Christian Holmes. And you can find it at lastwordonhockey.com.
Yeah, so if you're a Leafs fan or if you're a hockey fan in general, make sure to check that website out. I'll make sure maybe if I can try and post it in the link or something like that, like in our bio or something like that. But yeah... thanks for watching the Buck Show. I hope you guys enjoyed this talk. It's always an honor, Oscar, for you to be on. But make sure to, if you watch the end of the video, I appreciate you for being on and listening to the whole thing. And there's more topics to talk about. This is just a journey, and we're trying to make it big. And this is another step, another little podcast that's going to help us get bigger and bigger. So thank you for watching, and see you later, Buccanators. Have a good one, guys.